Hey, what is going on, my fellow Sagittariuses? Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your 1 week read. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your Sun, Moon, Rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. Did I say crotch watchers? Like, I'm thinking back and I'm thinking, sound like I said crotch watchers, which is not what I meant. Cross watchers. Always feel free to comment down below. I'm going to use a deck that I don't usually use. I usually, when I do readings for myself, or I do readings for Rose, but I don't usually use it in reads, but I just felt pulled to do it. So it's the basic Rider-Waite, the plain Jane. With all that being said, let's get it. Universe, spirits, and guides. What message do we have for Sagittarius? What do we have for Sagittarius? So the first thing I see is I feel like your person, this is someone I feel like you've been dealing with for a while. You know, I do feel like you have history with this person. But I feel like lately it's a lot of hot and cold, a lot of in and out energy with this person. You know, I feel like, we have the Tower card. I feel like it feels like it's falling apart. And I get the feeling that you're trying to keep it together because you do care about this person. But it seems like the more you try to keep it together, the more work it ends up being. I'm just getting that image, you know, like when somebody, I remember watching this movie one time and there was a hole in a pool or something, and the guy put his hand on it, and all of a sudden more holes started, and then he put his hand on his knee on it, and he just ran into, he couldn't stop it anymore. It's kind of like the image I'm getting is that it feels like this is all falling apart. I don't feel like you want it to, but not really sure where it went wrong. I feel like where it went wrong is this person. I feel like you know that. You know, it's like they close themselves off to you. They're keeping secrets from you. You know, that Seven of Swords is that very sneaky energy. That Eight of Swords is that self-imposed prison. Like they're locking themselves away from you on purpose. They don't want you to know what's going on. They're doing a lot of work to keep you in the dark. But it's not successful. They're not being successful in it whatsoever. Because I feel like there's this internal struggle with you and this anxious energy, this late nights, this anxiety. Because it just feels like this is all falling apart, and I get the feeling that you're putting a lot of it on yourself. Like you're blaming yourself. And to make things worse, like this internal struggle that you have is like you feel like the more you do, you can keep it together. The more, you're not doing enough, you're not putting in enough. That's not the case. And not only are you feeling this way, they're not helping it. You know, it's almost like they're making you feel like it's your fault. Like they're putting it on you, you know, causing you to overthink. With that Four of Swords, I mean, the Knight of Wands, this person is playing games. Straight to the point. They're playing games. And they're causing you to be defensive about it. Like they're making you feel like you've done something wrong. They're playing off your own fears. You know when we feel like we're doing something wrong and then somebody tells us we're doing something wrong, so it like almost kind of confirms what we're already thinking? I feel like this is exactly what this person's doing. I mean, you're not seeing what's right in front of you because this person is very good at hiding it. They're very good at dodging what's really going on. And again, we move back, and I think the internal struggle too is part of it. Like I said, is maybe you don't want to know, but you know. I feel like your intuition is telling you it. And your intuition isn't always going to tell you what you want to hear. But it's always going to tell you what you need to hear. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening here. You're hearing something you don't want to hear. You don't want to believe it to be true. And you can't see what's right in front of you because I feel like this person isn't being helpful with that. I mean, this person is very making things very confusing. I feel like at one point in time, you had a great connection with this person. I just don't feel like that's not the case anymore. I mean, you had this great connection. You had this great friendship. I mean, I feel like that, honestly, and I don't like telling you this, but I feel like you need to hear it. Even the friendship is gone. Because this person is, what they're doing to you, they're manipulating you. You know, I feel like, you had a friendship with this person. You had a romantic, an emotional connection with this person. And I feel like it all kind of slowly faded. They're not even being your friend at this point. I mean, we have the Eight of Cups in reverse. I mean, I feel like you're just trapped in this. Like you're having a hard time walking away from this, even though, like I said, I feel like your intuition is telling you, I feel like you already know exactly what you need to do. You just don't want to do it. You feel like somewhere deep down you can pull this back out. You can still get a win. I mean, I feel like this is more of a karmic relationship, and I feel like it ran its course. And I feel like the only reason they're not telling you, I mean, they don't know what they want. The Two of Wands in reverse. They don't know what they want. I mean, you can do it without them, and they know that you could do it without them, with that Nine of Pentacles. You don't need them. They know that, but they need you. And I feel like that's the only reason. As long as you keep giving to this person, they're going to keep taking. They're going to keep coming with their hand out. Because it's not like they have anywhere else that they need to be. That hot and cold energy, when we get that hot and cold energy, like we were with someone and they're in and they're out, they disappear on us, they go cold on us, they ghost us, and they always come back, it's because they need us. Now, that's not always the case, but in this case it is. I mean, this person isn't showing up for you. If you needed them, they're not going to show up for you. With the Eight of Pentacles work, they're not putting in the work for you. They're here for what it does for them. And that's why they're trying to convince you that it's you. It's like they can, if they can convince you that you're doing something wrong, they can convince you that, if they can keep you on the defense, they keep you off the offense. As long as they make it seem like it's your fault, it's like they're trying to make you obligated to keep giving, keep working, keep putting in. It's manipulation. Like I said, and I don't feel like this is changing in any way that you want it to. Like I said, I feel like that ship has sailed. This person is emotionally immature. I feel like you got to a point of no return. You got to a point where they matter more to you than you do to them. This is somebody emotionally immature. Like I said, they're here to get. And as long as they get, they'll continue to be here. They know you can do it without them. They know they can't do it without you. So the only logical scenario they came up with that works is they got to keep you underfoot. They got to keep you confused. They got to keep you blaming you. As long as you blame you, you're not blaming them. Very manipulative. And it's a lot of games. Like I said, I'm not saying that at one point there wasn't a real connection here, because I feel like there was. I feel like there was a friendship. I feel like there was an emotional connection. I just don't feel like that emotional connection for them to you exists anymore. And not only that friendship doesn't exist anymore, because if they did, they walk away and leave you to yourself. They'd be your friend and let you know that this is, that they're not into this anymore. That's what a friend would do. And like I said, we're going back to this because I feel like this is the advice. Very simple. You know what you need to do with that 7 of Wands. You know what you need to do, even though it's a hard road and even though it's something you don't want to do. You know what you need to do. And the alternative is getting hurt. Getting your heart broken. More than it already has. No more games. If this person wants to play games, let them go play games. Just not on your dime. Excuse me. Like I said, I don't see this changing. Not for the better. With this person, we have Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We have Cancer. We have Pisces. We have Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. Aries, Sagittarius. The problem in relationships, especially those that are longer, someone you've been involved with, is generally speaking, at one point you had a connection with that person. At one point they cared about you, but somewhere along the line when that goes away, that's the hard part. Because just because it went away from them doesn't mean it went away for you. And sometimes we try really hard to, especially Sagittarius, we're optimistic. We're the optimist. We see the glass half full. We try, we feel like we can get back to that place. We can salvage this. Some things aren't salvageable. They're write-offs. And when you have someone that is feeding into you to keep you underfoot, it makes it even harder to see. Like if you were in a relationship and you get to a point where, okay, we're just not clicking anymore. This is feeling platonic. We're feeling like roommates. All those different scenarios, we're drifting apart. Two people that care about each other may not be in love with each other anymore. You may love the person, but not in love with them anymore. And you're adults enough to say, listen, this isn't going where we wanted it to go. And you take your exit. That's what mature people do. With this, it's like they're still profiting from you. They're still getting something from you, so they don't want to let you go. So they're feeding into your idea that this can get better. If it's easy to let something go and you both know it's not working. It's harder when one person is acting like it's working and the other person wants it to work. Like I dated this one girl, and I didn't have a lot of really, I had maybe 3 really serious relationships in my life. And what I mean by serious is I've only lived with 2 women. The third serious one was kind of like the puppy love. It was, my introduction to love. And I talk about the 3 loves all the time. Not that you won't fall in love with more than 3 people, but there's 3 main loves in your life. There's that puppy love, and I call it the introduction to love. And then there's that second love, which is the worst. It's the one you're going to learn the most from, but it's going to cause you the most pain. And then there's that third one. It's the last one. It's the one that most people find when they're not even looking. It's the real one. Now, the relationship I'm talking about, this girl I was with, I lived with her. We spent 5 years together. And that was the second love for me. It was the worst. Like, I was in a very bad place, like mentally. Depressed, low self-esteem. Just had a very rough childhood. I don't mean that for a pity party. I just mean that for context. Not a lot of love in my life. Like, not a lot of love. Like, my family isn't loving. And a lot of bad things happen, and I'm not getting into that either, but I was just in a very vulnerable place when I got with her, and she manipulated me, and she made me feel like she loved me, but she just, in the beginning, I believe maybe she did. Maybe she did care about me in the beginning. But somewhere along the line, I feel like we drifted apart, but I was still paying the rent. She wasn't working. We lived together. We were together, like I said, and she had a good life. We didn't have any kids. She was, living off me. She didn't want to move back home, so she really had no other options. So, and I seen that in hindsight. I seen that. I realize that now. I realize that at the end of a relationship. And it was just a matter of she didn't have any better options, so she stuck with me. I was paying her bills. I was giving her money for her nails and her hair and clothes, and I was treating her well. And she would manipulate me into thinking that she cared about me. At the end of the relationship, I talked about this before. It's kind of embarrassing, but I really don't have that in me. I don't get embarrassed anymore. Life is life. It happens to the best of us. But she was running around with a guy. I was at work. I don't even know if she had him in my place. I don't know because the job I had at the time, I was working an hour out of town. So I drive an hour to work and an hour home, and I was gone 10 hours. I had 10-hour shifts. So 12 hours a day I was gone. So I don't know what was going on in my house. I don't like to think about it. But and she even introduced me to the guy. One night I was getting up for work and she was just coming home. And her and her friend, and she introduced him as her friend's boyfriend. Come to find out that was the guy that she's been sleeping around with. When I found out, I woke up. Silver lining. When I found out, I woke up. I realized I'm better than this. And I walked away. I left the apartment. I left all the furniture. I left everything in it. I left. Started over. A lot of people say, you're stupid for leaving that. I didn't want none of it. I didn't want part of it. I knew I had bigger and better things coming. So that the relevance is what I'm talking about. Is sometimes we all get fooled, but it was a lesson, and I learned it. You know, it took me a long time to get over it, and it wasn't. If I'm being honest, I feel like I already knew something was going on, and I already knew that we were drifting apart. I just didn't want to admit it, and the fact that she acted like she still wanted to be part of it made me feel kind of obligated to it. And that's the problem. Sometimes people are so manipulative and you just don't see it. And not because you don't see it necessarily, because sometimes you don't want to see it. You don't want to believe that that person would do that. Anyway, this got dark. I'm sorry. Love y'all. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.